So we're sort of talking around this. If you've been named as a trustee or an executor, and you don't have experience, in other words, you're that family member, you're that neighbor or friend, and you don't have particular education in this area, what are some things to think about before accepting that position?
Yes, well, to make comments on that, you really have to look at what a professional fiduciary would do and then work backwards from there. So one of the things that we do is that we do an assessment of the situation. And part of the assessment are the characters that are involved. If we're taking over with the elder still in place, very often we're dealing with care for the elder as well as just care for the assets. So it's exactly what an individual should do. What are the components of the case? If there is care for the elder that's required, they may be in a senior housing situation, which is relatively easy to maintain and manage, or they may be living in their own home. And if they're living in their own home, it will be absolutely critical to make sure that all of the services are provided for that. So really what you're doing is building a network. But before you even start, you've got either generally the care for the elder, and you've got to look at the resources that are available. So before you sign on the dotted line to sign the acceptance, you've really got to go through, make sure there are sufficient assets, maybe get a hold of a tax return, talk to the elder if they're still available, go through the assets to make sure that there are enough funds to do their job. Mm-hmm. And then also a document review is very, very important. A lot of people at this point are afraid of attorneys, and particularly in the area that we are in Santa Clara County, the values of the real estate, even if the person has a home and nothing else, they should really, really, really get professional help from an attorney. They should make sure there are no tax traps they're getting into with a good qualified CPA such as yourself. Talk to the investment advisor if there are any investments involved. If there are real rental properties, talk to a property manager, and really do a whole assessment of the case before they step, as it were, over the edge.
Okay.
So really team building is part of what they're trying to do to see if they even want to get into the job. But it's very important that they have caution doing that, because they may be a professional engineer, they may be a medical professional, but what we have is a whole different language set. Mm-hmm. So when you get into the trust and estates and the administration, we have a whole different language that we speak.
And also, I guess we could say a different set of skills to some degree. Another thing I think you sort of talked about at the beginning when you talked about the characters, so I'll talk about that for a moment, and that is, I think looking at the people, in the family and so forth, and trying to assess the relationships and so forth, do you really want to step into what could be a cat fight or something like that? So here's something that you may have had good relations with at least some of the people in this family for some time, and suddenly you're the one that's going to have to play, to some degree, the mediator or whatever. And, again, this is a really difficult role, and so, I would think very carefully before accepting that.
True.